In today's video, let's briefly discuss about what is partial denture, Kennedy's classification system, and Applegate's rule. First, let's move on to what is partial denture. Partial dentures are removable appliances that replace missing teeth, restoring function and aesthetics. The Kennedy classification system is a widely used method for classifying partially dentulous arches. This classification system helps dentists design effective and comfortable partial dentures. They include four main classes. Class 1, bilateral dentulous area located posterior to the remaining natural teeth. This means there are missing teeth on both sides of the arch located towards the back. An example would be missing molars on both sides of the upper or lower jaw. Class 2 defines an unilateral dentulous area located posterior to the remaining natural teeth. This means there are missing teeth on one side of the arch located towards the back. An example would be missing molars on one side of the upper or lower jaw. Class 3 defines an unilateral dentulous area with natural teeth remaining both anterior and posterior to it. What this means is there are missing teeth on one side of the arch with the natural teeth remaining in front and behind the space. An example would be missing premolars on one side of the upper or lower jaw. Class 4 is a single but bilateral that crosses the midline dentulous area located anterior to the remaining natural teeth. This means there are missing teeth on both sides of the arch located towards the front. An example would be missing incisors on both sides of the upper or lower jaw. Let's move on to the Applegate's rule. There are 8 Applegate's rule. These rules help ensure accurate classification and proper treatment planning. They provide a standardized approach to classifying partially dentulous arches. Rule number 1. The classification should follow rather than precede any extractions that might alter the original classification. This means that the classification should be determined after any necessary extractions have been completed. Rule number 2. If the third molar is missing and not to be replaced, it is not considered in the classification. This means that if the wisdom tooth is missing and will not be able to replace with the denture tooth, it is not factored into the classification. Moving on to the rule number 3, if the third molar is present and it is to be used as an abutment, it is considered in the classification. This means that if the wisdom tooth is present and will be used to support the partial denture, it is included in the classification. Moving on to the rule number 4, if the second molar is missing and not to be replaced, it is not considered in the classification. This means what? That if the second molar is missing and will not be replaced with the denture tooth, it is not factored into the classification. Rule number 5 include the most posterior dentulous areas determine the classification. What this means is the location of the missing teeth furthest back in the arch determines the class. Moving on to the rule number 6, dentulous areas other than those determining the classification are referred to as modifications and are designated by their number. This means that any additional areas of missing teeth are noted as modifications to the main class. Rule number 7 include the extent of the modification is not considered, only its presence. This means that the size of the additional missing area is not important, only the fact that it exists. Moving on to the last but not the least, the rule number 8. The class 4 can have no modification, that is, dentulous areas posterior to the bilateral anterior dentulous area. This means that if the missing teeth are located in the front of the arch, there can be no other areas of missing teeth behind them. Moving on to the conclusion, the Kennedy's classification system is a valuable tool for dentists in designing partial dentures. Applegate's rules also ensure accurate classification and proper treatment planning. Thank you.